Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Ro, and I am a part of our onboarding team here. We're going to go ahead and get started with our webinar today. Let's dive into it. So again, hi again. My name is Ro. I'm part of our onboarding team here. You will also notice in our conference room here that we have Max. He's a part of our onboarding team here, so he will be keeping an eye out for any questions that you guys might have as we get started with our Knack 101 webinar today. So a little bit more about what we can expect today. We're going to talk a little bit about Knack, what you can build with Knack, and then we're also going to do a demo of one of our template apps and talk about live customization, building your app from scratch. Again, if you have questions during the webinar, feel free to submit your questions in either the Q&A section. We're also keeping an eye out in the chat area as well, and Max will follow up there. If there's opportunity also at the end for live Q&A, I will respond to any questions that I can live at that portion of our webinar. So let's dive into it. Let's go ahead and get started today. What can I build with Knack? So I'm going to turn off my camera here so I'm off screen, or maybe I'll just move over a tad here and get out of the way here. But what can I build with Knack? You see that we have a list of things that you can do here within our platform, from custom business applications to portals, reporting analytics, and mobile applications. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that means. So what can I build with Knack? Again, diving into a little bit deeper into each one of those items that were listed on that previous page. But we've got everything from project management to CRMs, inventory management, HR management, educational resources. If you need to do the webinars like this one, you can actually manage your webinar information within your Knack platform, and any event type things, you can use Knack to do that as well. Continuing on further, we've got e-commerce options if you need to do something like purchase orders, reporting if you're looking at sales reports. Again, if you have an audit log for compliance and auditing tools. When we talk about mobile responsive web applications and mobile type apps, think about a field service management app. If you've got people that are out in the field and they need to access the data and information via their mobile phone or a laptop. Knack is completely mobile responsive. It is a web-based application, but you can access it via your device and your apps will adjust to your screen size. So custom forms and surveys and data sharing as well. So lots of things that you can do within Knack. And so if you are coming to Knack for one thing and you were wondering what more can you do with our platform, here is some details here. So just before we dive into our webinar here today, I want to talk a little bit about how you can get support from our team here. We are available to you Monday through Friday. That's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can also reach out to us at onboarding@knack.com. If you want to learn more about working with support, we have some different support tiers, and we've got some information in our knowledge base around what that looks like. So again, I have a quick link here that's going to take me to our knowledge base here. You saw in that list there, you can type in working with support. This article here is going to get you some more information on that. I'll also take you through where you can find that information within the builder. Again, if you're just getting started out, this information is also available in the builder, and I will take you through that as well. We also have Knack experts available. So if you are starting to build your application, or if you have time constraints and you want to get things built out sooner versus waiting for giving yourself the time to get ramped up in our product, you can always work with one of our experts. Our expert directory are a list of our most proficient partners. They have to show proficiency in the product and know what they're doing before they can even become a partner. But once they're here, you can work with them from everything from building your application from the ground up. You can consult with them, or they can consult with you, as well as any kind of training if you need training or some customizations within Knack. So what you see here, a lot of this is based on what features are native features, but you can also enhance your app further with custom code and working with our APIs. But I could talk about that a little bit more later on. So again, getting support from us, that's what our availability is. And you can reach out to us at onboarding@knack.com. All right, so what are we going to talk about and discuss today within this webinar? And actually, I want to take a step back here. Each week, we are hosting these webinars on different topics, different template apps. We're talking about how you can customize these template apps yourself, as well as building those apps from scratch in that specific use case from scratch. However, if you are interested in seeing other webinars, that page that you signed up on, you should see a list there of some of our past webinars if you'd like to revisit those. We're also starting to open up a live, not live Q&A, but our Q&A version of a webinar where you can submit your questions early on, and then we can dive into those questions and demo those through within that webinar. So take a look at those. Those also have some great information on, especially if you're looking to build out specific workflows or you're wanting to look to understand connections more, those webinars will have more details there. So with that said, just wanted to take a kind of a step back here when we talk about getting support and what resources are available to you. These webinars are also a resource for you in terms of learning, and you can join them each week. We alternate each week between that Q&A and our 101s where we're diving into some of our use cases. All right, now with that said, let's kind of talk about here what we're going to go dive into today. We're going to dive into document management today. How can you manage your documents? How can you take a look at this template app, and how can we expand on this template app if we've got other versions of document management or content or digital asset management that we'd like to do within Knack. So we're going to do a live app demo, and then we're going to walk through how can we customize that template app, and then maybe start building that app out from scratch. Again, throughout the webinar, if you have questions, please feel free, drop those questions in the Q&A section of our conference room here, or you can drop information into the chat. We're keeping an eye out there. We also love to hear what it is that you're looking to build within Knack, so please feel free, share those details within our chat area, and happy to discuss that too during the Q&A section. So with that said, we're not at the Q&A section just yet. I advanced a little too soon, but one thing I want to do first is take a look at this live app demo. So before we dive into that, I'm going to turn my camera off here so I am out of the way of the screen here. So give me just a moment here. All right, hopefully everyone's able to see my screen here as we take a look at document management here. So again, we're in this particular template app use case, we want to have a way for our users or maybe our team to manage documents. So you want a place to store those documents, to be able to see when they were last updated, update, make changes. This just gives you a central place to be able to search and find these documents quickly, and to also make changes, and to give people different levels of access either to the information where they can either see all documents, or maybe you want to give them visibility to one document that they can look at and update and make changes. So let's dive into it. We're going to log in first as a user and see what the user sees. So with Knack applications, again, if you're new and coming to Knack, you're not familiar with Knack, you can make your pages public. You can also secure your pages behind a login. So with this template app, you can see that we were logging in as a user. You also saw that option to log in as an admin, and we'll take a look at that, go back to that. But within our template app here, I was able to log in as a user. So the user's logged in, and they can see they can search for documents, they can view details about individual documents. This particular user is able to see 3 documents. They can dive into a specific document. They can write comments and leave comments here as it relates to an individual document. So let's talk a little bit about what's available to you in Knack and what we're looking at here. And this will make a lot more sense once we dive into our back end and show you how this is built and what we're looking at. So Within Knack, we have pages, and on those pages, we have what you call views. So we are looking at our document page here that's allowing us to view a grid or a search view of records, and we're looking at records in our document table. So we're looking at a grid here that's showing us some information. You can see that we have a way to search that information if we wanted to be specific and look for anything that has the word material. We could do that, and we should see that one document filtered here. So again, this is our actually our search view that we're looking at, not a grid view. Search views allow you to search across multiple fields that are available within the within this table, this document table. Right now, we just have the keyword search field, but I'll show you how we can customize this to say, hey, we want to search by maybe the type of field, or maybe we want to look at the upload date and search our documents that way. We can hit reset, and then we can show all of our options here. You'll also notice within Knack we have some field types here. So we've got this name field, which is a short text field. We've got multiple choice fields. We've got this file field that allows us to view a document. The way Knack works is we leverage the browser to display that. So if I click on this, depending upon your browser, you'll be able to view that, may be able to view that PDF. It just depends. You can also download the document as well. I'm not sure, it might be my internet connection that's not allowing me to view this document, but we'll come back to this. But we then have date fields as well. We are looking again at this document management use case. So there's not a way, we're not seeing things like equations and number fields, but it is possible with Knack, and we'll dive into that in just a little bit. We can take a look now, again, at more details within a particular document. We can see even more details about that document, like who uploaded it, when that upload date was, when it was last updated. Again, we have that link to view the file, and then we can see the comments associated with this. So if you are wanting to make sure your team internally knows what's going on, or to comment on this document after it's been reviewed, that can be done within this application. So we have this parent-child relationship that we're able to do. We're able to show the parent information along with the child information, or the related pieces of data within Hack. So super cool. We can also see any documents that we potentially uploaded to the system. So we can filter this to only show that logged in user, only their information here. So we can see that we had uploaded a document here with the project proposal on this date. And again, we can view more details about that particular document, where we can see all of the details here. So really nice when it comes to securing your information. In this tab, we're able to see everything. However, on this particular option here, we're only seeing the documents that you uploaded. And you'll notice that this user, this logged in user, has also the option to edit this information as well. So they can click on the edit and come in here and make changes to the uploaded document or the file that they have here. You can also see that there's an element of assigning, or who can see this document, who do you want to give access to this document. So the way we're using, we have this set up is based on a user role field, which I'll dive into that more once we dive into the back end, and we can say, hey, let's give access, or let's remove access from certain people. All right, so that is our user view. I'm going to jump back to my home page here and talk a little bit about access and permissions, and how we somewhat manage that at the URL level. One of the popular questions that we get is, how do I access my live app? Right now, we are looking at our document manager at our Knack personalized URL. So that's what we refer to this link as. It's going to contain part of your account number, and it's also going to name, or account name, and your app name will be included in that. So you'll see row, that's my account name. You'll also see document management, that's my app name. So that's what's composed of that email. Then everything after the hash just basically refers to the page that you're on. So if I navigate to documents, you'll see after that hash, I'm on my documents page. If I navigate to this one, you'll see I'm actually on my documents page. So that came out odd, but this is the documents page. This is the my documents page. So as you dive into that, as we dive into individual records, you'll start to see that, hey, I'm on a details page and here's my record ID information. So just a little bit about that URL if you're trying to get familiar with that structure there. But this Knack personalized URL is what you're going to share out. Now you can embed your app onto your own website. So if you're looking to do some white labeling or you want to make sure your app is coming from your own domain, you can create a snippet of code and copy and paste that onto your website. So we'll dive into that too, as well as what that looks like. But a little bit about that link that we're looking at. So we were here on our home page. We logged in as our user initially. Now we want to log in as an admin. Now this is a good uh, practice or a good walkthrough in terms of permissions. I'm logged in as Jeff, the user, and Jeff doesn't have access to this page. As you'll see after the hash is my page, documents 2. Jeff doesn't have access to this page. They're not admin. So I can log in though. Obviously these credentials wouldn't be here, but I can log in as my admin. And now you see that I'm logged in as admin. I still have some similar tabs up here, but one has changed and we have users where we can see all of our users in the database. So again, there's only 3 records here, only 3 documenting here, but the admin can see everything and they also have edit access as well. So again, we're looking at some similar things here. They can still search the data. We're now looking at a grid view. It still comes with a search by keyword, and then we have options to filter, which we can enable at this level. Knack gives you so many ways to filter your data and to search it easily within the platform, just based on the view type that you pull in. But if we wanted to say, hey, we want to pull in, well, we only want to look at policy documents, we can do that and see only those policy documents. We can then again click on more links to see more details about that policy. They even have delete access if we wanted to. So if you remember, or maybe not, our users didn't have the option to delete comments, but we do as admin. So with those different permissions and user groups that we have within Knack, the way we set up the way our platform works, you can create these user groups that you can then give different levels of access the data to. So taking it again, jumping back here, we have the edit and delete option. They can also add documents, and they have an option up here to view all of the users in the system. So now we can see we have Janet, and we have Jeff, and we have Samantha, and we can see all of their details here. If we wanted to, we could probably add some functionality to this to say, hey, I want to see what documents that Janet has access to, or I want to see what documents that Samantha has access to. We don't see that here, but I'm going to walk you guys through how we could customize this if you're starting from a template app, and how you would customize. So again, we can come in here and we can add new users if we wanted to as well. So good stuff. And again, if we were taking a look at that URL again, we have a slightly adjusted information after that hashtag. And again, I'm working with one of our template apps. If I were to jump back here, if you haven't made it over to our template page, you'll find that on the home page, the link to it on the home page under resources and template apps. And this is where we have quite a few template apps to choose from. If you're looking specifically for document management one, you can start typing in document and you'll see that information here. And you can even click onto this document template page and you can learn a little bit more about what's available. And again, this is with all of our template apps. You can find out some information. You can see some screenshots, and then you can install this app. And if you're, as long as you're logged in or you've got an account created, you can click the install this app, and that will take you into your builder and it will install the app for you. So just a heads up on that. So we have taken a look here at our document management live app here. We've walked through the different users that have access as an admin and as a user. Again, this is a landing page we've created. You can create whatever type of workflow that makes sense for you within your application. But this is our document management. So let's take a look at what this looks like in the back end. If you are just getting started with Knack, you've probably seen the builder, and you're seeing somewhat similar to what we're seeing here. You probably landed on the data page, and we give you in a blank app a table and a couple of user roles to get started with. So I like to kind of dive into what you're looking at here in terms of what's on this left-hand side and work my way over to the right to give you an explanation or some details on how to take a look at this template app that's already kind of pre-built for you. So we're on our data tab. Our data tab is going to be where we can find all of our tables in our user roles, and we can actually add new tables and add new user roles to this template app. You've already seen on the live app how we had our document table. We're looking at the grid view and the search view. But this is where we start to design that table. And again, we can add tables by clicking that plus button that I just clicked there, and you'll see that we have options to drag and drop a CSV or an Excel file. We can also start with a blank table. We can also start with a pre-made table, and they're just populated with fields. And we can also work with Google Sheets. So if you have your data in a Google Sheet, you can also connect that way as well. So I'm going to exit out of here because we've already got our tables here. So clicking on our documents table, you'll notice that we've already got some fields here for that table. We've got the name field. We've got the file field that allows us to upload that file. We've got a description field if we wanted to give context to the file that's being added. And then we've got the type of file. This is where we were filtering by policy, right? So we've got the different types of documents that we might be adding to the database to allow us to do some categories. And then we've got some other information to help us capture, for example, who uploaded that information. We were able to see the logged in user Jeff uploaded some information, and they were able to look at the documents that they had uploaded. We can also get a timestamp of the upload date, and we can also track when it was last updated, and then that can be seen is our connection field. So before I dive into the connection piece of it, I definitely want to go through how our other tables are set up, and then we'll talk about how that relates back to our connection here. So again, if you're adding fields or you feel like you want to update and say, hey, I want to add new fields, you'll see this add field button here. We're going to click on that, and all those field types that I mentioned at the very beginning, where you're able to work with a short text field or a text formula field. I mentioned having numbers and equations. You can do that within Knack. You can add these fields if you had a need for running calculations. You'll also see we've got multiple choice and yes and no. File fields, we are using that file field here to upload the files, but you can also do images if that was something your requirements, your app building required. You can definitely do that. We've got your person, email, address. I can go through all of these, but you've got quite a few field types to choose from, again, to make sure the data is going into the system the way that you want it to. So again, if you want to continue to build out these tables, you'll just add fields. You'll notice we've got our comments table. It's got a couple fields here. It's got the comment plus the document connection field, and we've got the connection to the user just to say, here's who made that comment. Down here, we've got our user roles. You'll see another pink plus button here as well. So if there's other groups of users that you wanted to add to the system, so we've got admins and users here, but maybe you have people that you want to give different level of access to, like project managers or external type users that need to have access to the database, but on a different level. You can certainly continue to build out those groups by just clicking that plus button there and adding a new user group. When I click on an actual table here in your accounts is included. This is a table as well. So you in essence have 3 tables here, but we have an accounts table, we have an admin table, and we have a user table. And they can have their own set of fields as well. So you can build out your admin table to capture whatever field that you need to create to capture data you need to capture for that admin group. You can do the same thing for the user group. Maybe this is a group of employees where you want to track hire date. So you can also do some things like that to track additional information related to that logged in user. But the purpose of these tables down here is specifically to allow you to set up those permissions and build out pages for that group of users and to start to use it to limit access to the data. So very, very important here, step. So as you're building out your database or planning your database, think about those groups of users that need to log in and have some sort of access to your data. I always say the rule of thumb is if at some point, maybe not today, but at some point they might need to have access, you're just not ready, but you know that they do eventually, go ahead and still create it as a user role. You don't necessarily need to give them access or create pages or a portal for that group. You just need to uh, have it started here and then start building out your application based on that. And this is a good segue into why you might start to consider or think of things this way as well as we talk about connections. So connecting your data to users, a good example is we saw that Jeff in the live app had uploaded a document. We were able to show a view of documents that were tied to Jeff, and he could see his documents and edit them. We were doing that based on how we relate our tables. So how do we assign Jeff to that document? We use a connection field. If you're familiar with spreadsheets, it works like a lookup field. If you're familiar with databases, it's like your foreign key. So you're just basically going into your child table, and that's where you're adding that connection field. So in this case, each user can be tied to many documents or upload many documents. I'm going to go into the side of that that says many, my documents table, and that's where I'm going to add my connection field. So you'll see the option here to do that. You'll also see the option at the bottom here to add that connection. But once you've added that, we've got the uploaded by. Maybe we want to track something different, right? Maybe we want to not track just the uploaded by. Maybe we want to track the last person who updated that. If other people have edit access to this, so you could do something like, let's link to my accounts table and track who last updated. So we can say each document connects with one account, each account connects with many documents. Within this connection, that one to many is what you'll need, and we'll add that connection. And then we can just simply click on this field. So you can edit your fields by either clicking on them or clicking on the option here to go into the settings. That's going to open them up, and we can just say last updated by. And we can track who last made an update on this particular document. And that's it. That's how you basically set up your connections. You relate your data. Again, we're capturing who uploaded it, but now we're also going to add this last updated by that maybe we can drag these around and put them wherever we want so that it makes sense in the order of our database, or actually in the order that our table is. So again, that's how you would add a connection. This is how you're going to tie the data, tie the document to the user, or assign the document to a group user, or say who last updated this and capture something. And that happens all with our connections. So what does this look like if we were to just take a look at that form? You can see here's that new field here. If I click into it, this basically is going to act like a drop-down field or a lookup field. It's going to look up on this accounts table, and we'll see all of our users here. And we can do some things on the front end to automatically capture that logged in user. And we'll dive into that here in a little bit. So again, that's what that connection field is. It's that lookup field. It looks up, it makes the connection. It allows you to tie that user account, in this case, the user account to the document. And I will leave that blank for right now, because then we'll dive into how you would update that. So again, you've got your tables up here. This is going to be about the static information that you're collecting for your records or the changing information. We've got documents. And again, you can continue to add fields by clicking here as you customize this app. You can click on the options here. You'll see that you've got settings. You'll see validation and conditional rules. You probably noticed that on the previous screen where we had validation and conditional rules. And then this is how you can also delete things. So I will say, if you're touching the change field type and the delete, proceed with caution. This can totally change things within your database. There is no undo button. So if you remove that, it's removed, and you would need to reach out to us directly to kind of restore that. So something to think about as you're making changes within your table. It's fine in the early stages if you haven't built out your pages and you're still learning things. But once you start getting into building out your database, proceed with caution. One recommendation would be to either make a copy of your table. You can also go into your dashboard, and I'll just jump in here really quickly. I'm gonna just type in blank. Let's see, I'll type in untitled. You'll see here that you can duplicate an app. So you can also duplicate your app as well to kind of make a copy and test out changes there before you make the changes in your live app. So that's a really good point for me to bring up right now. Like, there is no testing area or sandbox area where you can push changes beforehand or undo those changes. But we do recommend using this option where you can duplicate your app and make changes in that copy. And that way, at least you've saved, you have a backup of your copy, a backup of your application. If not, you can reach out to the team. We are always backing up your data, so there are options. Let's dive back into our builder. And checking the time, doesn't look like we have any questions, and that's okay. I always have plenty to talk about when it comes to Knack. So we're taking a look here at the document manager. We take a look at our tables here, fields, how you can customize and change these by clicking on things. You've got the three dots here that you can click on the ellipses. You've got validation and conditional rules. So please give yourself time to explore that. Jumping down to this next option here, as we again work our way from top down, but still going across as we see our options here. You'll see records. Records is also right here. You'll see I'm on my selected, I'm on my documents. When I click on records, these are to the same places, same spot, get you to the same area. We're looking at our records though. So we can, from the back end, we can individually add records here. We can import data. Importing is the same way. Similar options that you have when you first create a table. You can import by dragging in a CSV or Excel file, and you can also use your Google Sheets to do that as well. So we've got the import option. You can also export your data at any time. So it does not matter. You don't need to reach out to the team. Your data is yours. You can export it out at any time. And you have a couple different options here in that format. You can also do some batch updating within your application. We held a webinar last week where we talked about how you can do some batch updating with your records here. Within our live application, there's not a way to either import from the live app or update and do batch deletes, but you can definitely do that here. An admin or your app developer can do that from the builder here. So please play around with these options. Again, you have flexibility to import. You can export from your live app, but the updating and batch deleting you can do from here. And you'll see some options here that may not be available to you throughout the trial. We do allow for a record history. So if you are wanting to see the changes on a record, you'll be able to see that here within the history, and you'll see all of this data that will be shared with you around changes within your app. This is available with our Pro plan and above. So if you want to see changes, what's been made or what's been done on a record, you can see that here as the admin of your application. You'll have options to do some editing, so you can always edit a record, as well as from this view, you can also add, insert new fields to the left or right, you can delete things, and you can also edit those field settings there. So there's functionality here on the Records tab as well. In your application, you can search your data, you can filter your data as well. So don't sleep on records. Lots of things happen over here on records. I will say, if you're trying to get some kind of automation functionality out of records, once you're over here, or when you're adding records and you have an expectation of why doesn't it update to capture my logged in user? All of that happens in the live app, and you set up all of that under pages. So I like to say all the magic happens under pages, and the magic even happens even more under the live app once you've configured your pages. So don't count Knack out. It probably can do it. It's just a matter of making sure you get to this area right here within your application. One thing that you won't be seeing during the trial is tasks. Tasks are a great way to automate things within Knack. So automating database updates, automating emails to go out to remind users of tasks that they need to complete. So for example, let's say there was an update to a document and we wanted to trigger an email to go out. You could use a task to do that. Tasks can run daily, weekly, or monthly. You could set that time when you want that task to run. And then once you start to build out what actions that the task will do, you'll see that you've got 4 different actions. You've got the update of the existing record. You can update connected records. You can insert a new record in another table, and you can also send an email. So if we were sending an email here, we'd have the options to say when this task will run, and we can start building that out. We want to run it when, last updated is before this current time, before this date, or before is today, whatever that may be. Send an email to notify the admin that there was an update that happened today, right? So this is a good way to automate things within Knack so you're hands off. So tasks, you won't see that. That's available with our Pro plan and above. If you would like to learn more, please don't hesitate to reach out. You'll see that there is a link here that'll take you to our knowledge base that also dives in to tasks. And I share that as if you would see this feature. You would not see this feature during the trial, but if you do a search for scheduled tasks or just tasks, you'll find this information in our knowledge base to dive in to. All right, let's jump down to pages and talk a little bit about, again, our document management and how this particular template app was set up and how you can customize your pages. So I mentioned when we were taking a look at Knack or looking at this document management app, and we're looking at this particular page here, this documents page. What you're seeing on the page are views, is what we call these in Knack. So we have this here is a grid view, and we've got a menu view that takes us to a page that has a form view on the page. So basically, you are adding the page, you're adding views to the page, and you can add multiple views onto a page. So if we're taking a look at our home page here, which again, I can jump back here, you're seeing an element here, and you're seeing a menu view here. That is what we're viewing right here as well. We're using a rich text view as well as this menu view. If I navigate away, if I hover over it, you see menu right here. telling you what that view is. Views get added. Well, before we talk about how views get added, pages are the first part of this process. So you start with this option here. We add pages by clicking this add button, this button here. And then you'll notice that you've got three different options. You've got the public page, which if you wanted your app to be public and you wanted to display or share data that is available for everyone to view, regardless of whether they're logged in or not. Maybe you're using Knack for like event management, or you do want to make documents available to the public. You can certainly create a public page that then shares all of those documents in a way for them to download those documents, right? Or you can do the login page, which puts it behind a login, which you saw us walk through earlier, where we had our user and our admin, and there was a login form on that page where we had to authenticate first before we can see any of the information. So that would be adding a login page. Our drop-down menu just allows us to group multiple pages under a single drop-down. So if you've seen on a website where you can click on a link and you've got all of them stacked under one option, it's a drop down. This is how you would create the drop down within Knack. That's good for if you've got multiple pages for admins. Let's say we had 10 or more pages for our admin or 10 or more pages for our users, and we want to group that under one menu to only have all of our options there, rather having a navigation at the top that's super long. And I guess taking another step back here, when we click and add these pages, it's basically creating our navigation. So we saw that our admins have access to a documents page and a users page. If I click on this link here, I've got my documents page and my users page here. And as you click that plus button, it'll continue to add to this menu here. So this menu would expand out. So sometimes you want to group that information under a drop down. For example, if I were to add one for our admins and we wanted that under one single drop down, we could do that. We can add this new page here. You can see now that I've got this accordion style or my drop down option with my pages located underneath. And if I were to come here to my page here, refresh, I now have this new menu option with my drop down options there. So a good way to clean things up to keep your app from having a bunch of navigation options going all the way across here. So that's a little bit about pages, but once you add a page, we're adding views to the page. To add a view, you'll see this option here. We can click on add this view, and this will allow us to add those different views I talked about. So here we're looking at this rich text view. That's in alignment with this rich text view. We've got this menu view. That's in alignment with this option here. So we can continue to add views to this page to build out what we want to see. So if you're wanting to create some sort of dashboard that is allowing you to see all of your documents and all your comments and maybe pull in some report views, you can start to build out your pages to do that. So again, these are all of our view types, and these are just ways to display your data and ways to edit or add to your database. Edit your records or add to your database, add records to your database with the form views. So that is basically the structure of the page and working with pages. You're just adding pages and you're adding views to the page. Now, the next layer of that is once you've added those views to the page, you start getting into workflow and the actions and things that you want users to do within the application. So with this document management app, we've already got some things added for you. You can see as I'm hovering over these, they're kind of highlighting. If I click on this anywhere, it doesn't matter. I can click on the pencil icon. I can click here. It's going to take me to the same settings, but I'm now given some options here to edit this view if I wanted to. We're looking at a rich text view. So this is where we can add information. We could add a welcome message here if we wanted to. We have some options to do some formatting if we wanted to do our welcome option here. So there's lots of things that you can do with the rich text view in terms of just static information that you want to share. But as we dive down into the other views here, we've got a menu view here where we can continue to add buttons. These buttons can link to a new page where we add some type of workflow within our application. We can link to an existing page that already is existing in our app. We can also link to an external URL if we wanted to. So again, views can be edited further just by clicking on them. And when you click on them, it opens up a panel of settings on the left-hand side. So let's jump to another page. Let's take a look at our users page where we could take a look at some documents here. And again, we were looking at a grid view and we were also looking at this search view. And I talked a little bit earlier about, hey, let's take a look at our search view. Maybe we want to search by a specific type, or we want to give users a way to search by this field only. So we have search inputs that we can choose from. You'll see all of your field options here. I can click on this type, and you'll see that show up here. Now, as you get familiar with Knack, and you'll notice as you hover over things, that's the key. You'll always see that pencil icon and the trash can icon to remove things, or the pencil to edit, but you can always click on that field to further get some additional settings for that particular field. So clicking on that, I could say, you know what, I want to kind of leave this open-ended and allow them to select it versus setting it the default option to is any. I can uncheck this box and say they can choose multiple options. So if I wanted them to search for multiple file types, I could. Do I want it to be check boxes where they check the different boxes? So there's lots of options here. I can do any options. I can say match all. So there's a lot of settings within, especially your search view as you're wanting to dive in and search your data with more detail. You can certainly do that. You can also do things like exact match. This may not be the field we want to do that in. Maybe we pull in another field, but I wanted to just show you guys that's your options here. Now, all of your views are going to have different things that you're looking at. Your views that are just displaying data will always have a source. In that source, it's always going to tell you what you're looking at. You're looking at document records that are connected to the logged in user. You can also, this is very important to note because you want to make sure that the users are seeing what they need to see. So in this particular use case, we only want them seeing what they're connected to within this application. Sometimes we want to show them all the records, but you may run into some issue where you're like, hey, they're seeing everything. I will always recommend come check your source. You can also filter this information by, hey, we only want to see everything that was uploaded today going forward, right? So you only see newest things that have been uploaded. You can also limit what's being viewed. I only want to show 10 records and that's it. So there's lots of options. There's lots of settings over here. I could dive into each one of these, but I will encourage you to do that when you are starting to build out. Give yourself that time to explore. So I'm going to hit save on this because we've got that new kind of keyword search. We can click on Go to Live App from any one of these pages, and it'll take you to the page that you are actually on. And I believe we're logged in as John, so we're going to log in as our user. And you'll see now I have this new option here. I can now select more than one to pull up that information. We can reset. We can say, I only want to see everything that's got course material and contract, and it'll filter that information. So the search view can really be nice and an additional gives you more functionality than the grid view and the filtering if you're familiar with Knack and started playing around with some of those filter settings. But this is how you would customize these views that have been added. Click on them, see what your options that you have. And again, as you hover over each one of these options, even in your table here, you can hover over these and you have some settings as well. So you could do some customization in terms of design. You can do some display rules. If you wanted to flag a certain field type. You can say, hey, I want to add a rule to say if my field type contains a policy, then we're going to add, an icon, and we're going to show a document icon, or let's see, I always forget which it is, but we want to show, this icon here. We can hit save, and we jump into our live app and we hit refresh and reset this. You now see my little icon here. So there's lots of options there. Don't sleep on all of the different features and functionality and settings that you have. Give yourself time to click on things within your application. So that's that in terms of editing and going into these views and making changes. We can take a look at maybe adding some functionality again around looking at documents I talked about earlier. Let's take a look at our users, and let's maybe give our admins a way to take a look at an individual user and see what documents that they have been assigned to. And we didn't see that workflow when we initially were taking a look at our live app. So I'm going to again log in as our admin here instead. We're logged in as our user. And we don't have a way here in our app to take a look at Janet and see what she's been assigned to. So we can start to build that out within our application. And this is where we start to get into like that workflow of like, what do you want your users to do when they dive into the app? What actions are they taking as it relates to the data? What are they seeing? What are they doing? So in this use case, I want my admins to log in, see all of the users, and not only edit them or be able to remove them, but I want them to be able to view more details about a particular user. So those settings are going to be found in the settings for the grid. And again, you'll see we've got the source options, we've got settings here. This allows you to do things like record exporting if you wanted to export. Like I mentioned before, you can export from your live app. We've got the filtering turned on here. So there's settings there, but you'll see this option here to add columns. And this is where we can continue to add additional information. We can take a look at our connected fields. So let's say we wanted to pull in data from our related tables, and let's show them a list of those files that they have access to. We could do that here. We can drag these around, but this will basically just list our files in a new line, but you can also separate them by comma. And we can even link to those documents. We can even hyperlink to these documents elsewhere in our application. So we're logged in as admin, so maybe we want to log into this document details page. But you could do that here. We can also, taking a step back before I hit save, we can say, hey, let's view more details about this user here, and this is going to give us a view link. We can drag this into a different spot if we wanted to and hit save. And that's going to create a child page of this table here. So we can click on a link to view more details about that user. When we do that, we're going to see some information. We're going to see details about the user. And again, we can continue to add fields if there are additional fields here to build this out. But now we can do some additional things. We can say, let's add a view and let's add a grid that's going to show us all of the documents that that they can see, that they have access to. So we can use this option here. Now, if you remember, we had two connection fields. We had one that was the uploaded by, and then we had the can be seen by. Within that configuration, the uploaded means they were the ones who uploaded that document. The can be seen means that admins gave them access maybe to that document, even though they didn't upload it. So I'm going to choose my can be seen by field, and this is going to show me this user, and I can now see what documents that Samantha has access to. And that's it. We'll build this out. And again, we're just building out this page to build out workflow and what we want them to see. So we can click continue, but you can see here that you have options to give them edit access, link to a details page, or they can link to an existing page where they can edit that document. So we might want to give our admins a way to edit that document, and we can link to an existing page where they already have that power. So we can click continue and add the grid. And now we can take a look at what this looks like within our live app. So we just added some functionality real quickly here where our admins can log in, they can see all the users, and now we've given them a link to view more details about that user. And on that page, they can see more details about the user and the documents they have access to, and they can edit that document. We also showed another way that we can show them, if we go back to our user page here, we gave them another way to view. Actually, I did not do that there. Yes, I did. We gave them another way to view the files that they have access to here in this table here. So let's take a look at this. And I just saw that we've got about 5 minutes left here with the webinar today. And I didn't see any questions, so hopefully you guys are finding this information useful today. So we are now logged in as our admin. We're now able to see the different users here within the system. We can view this particular user. We can view Jeff, and we can see that they have access to these 3 documents within the system. So hopefully that helps. I just noticed something, and this is a good kind of way to kind of test things out to make sure you're doing things if data is not showing up the way that you expect it to, then how to troubleshoot within your application. So I'm just noticing that I only see 1 document here for Jeff. And we should be seeing 3 because he has access to 3 different documents. So that means I probably pulled in the incorrect connection field. So I'm going to click on this actual table and see what I did wrong. I'm going to find out what I did here. So again, we can go to our add columns, we can look at our connection fields, and we can see our options here within the application. So we want to know what files that they potentially have been added to under the can be seen by. And I'm not sure which one I pulled in here. So I'm going to pull this one out. I'm going to try this again. Let's see, document fields can be seen by. And I might have this wrong, but Max, let me know if I'm missing a step here. I want them to see the documents that they have access to. I thought I pulled in the right one, but let's see if this works. There we go. That was it. I pulled in the wrong field. So again, I'm going to relink this back to this option here. Save it. And we're going
to... I didn't interrupt because I knew you'd figure it out. I had that much faith in you.
Thank you. I'm glad that you have faith in me. So here we are. There, now that's showing as expected. We can see that Jeff now has access to the 3 documents. If I dive into Jeff here, I can also see in this view as well what 3 documents they have access to as well. This first option may not be ideal because what if there were 20 documents? We definitely that would make this an extremely long field here. But if we're talking only a handful, this is sometimes very useful to display in this way. Otherwise, clicking on this link here, you can show those documents that they have access to in a grid view. So I'll stop there. I definitely am going to jump back into here and talk a little bit more about how to find resources within Knack. I mentioned that we have our help icon here. You also see that there's a chat option here that sometimes will be online, and you'll see our lovely faces. If the onboarding team is online, you can reach out to us as you're building things out. But there's also our help icon here that opens up our help drawer that has a ton of other information in here. You'll find our knowledge base link. If you are looking to explore other integrations and custom code and work with the Knack API, you'll find that information here. hiring an expert, that link is there, as well as reaching out to our community. Our experts are pretty active in the community, and you can also reach out to them there. But this is where you'll find those help resources. So I encourage you, if you're feeling stuck, you can always again reach out to our team at onboarding@knack.com. And let me quickly get back to this page here. Or you've got those resources there, and you can find that within the builder under that help icon. With that said, we are right at time. This webinar will be available to you guys as well on our webinar page. But again, feel free to reach out to us at onboarding@knack.com if you have any other questions or need any other assistance. And I was going to jump back on camera here. See if I can get this back online here. Yep, I think I'm there. So you guys can see me. All right. Maybe not.
We can
Can
see.
you- All right, excellent. Have a wonderful day, guys, and thanks for joining us. Bye.